right, my beautiful friends, welcome back. We are very excited to have you here. I hope your weekend was incredible and outstanding, and your week is off to an even better start. We have a wonderful stream planned ahead, a lot to get to. Let's go through a preview on what's coming up, then we'll get right into it. Of course, a big story that is capturing a lot of attention is from the always amazing Christopher Rufo. Today, bringing us the news that Kamala Harris is a plagiarist. Like everything else about her, her writings are also fake. And so we'll go through this report because he's dug in, done their own investigation, and they're also pointing us over to this guy. His name is Dr. Stefan Weber, and he's this German dude who has really gone in on Kamala. He's got 47 slides on this thing. And what's happening here is they're trying to make Christopher Rufo as this hatchet man, this guy who's like going after Kamala. And he's New York Times called him a conservative activist seizes on passages from Harris's book. That's the story? You mean it's not about Kamala's, plagiarism that's well documented in Rufo's post, but not only from Rufo, also from Dr. Stephen Weber, Scott. This doctor from Germany, he's German, and he wrote this 49-page monster analysis that we'll go through today, all in PDF format, that does a little compare and contrast on Kamala's plagiarism. It's not good. You can see what this looks like. We'll connect the dots. We'll just remember those games you used to play. I remember them at the doctor's office. They had those little toys, and you'd like bring the blocks over on the thing and then bring it down on the loop-de-loop and then bring it back down. We'll play that little game here. We'll do that here. We'll connect yellow to yellow right here. We'll say that. Oh, and we'll connect this pink. Let's go this way. Ooh, let's go through these two colors and connect the pink to this one. Oh, blue. Oh, no. We're going to go through here. And then green's going to be very complicated. We're going to have to go a little through this direction, come back around to connect the green without crossing any lines. There, we did it. Yay. Your boy passed the sixth grade toy, 6-year-old toy at the doctor's office. So that's what Kamala did, right? She rigged everything, pulled it from different passages and wrote it as her own. And we'll go through and we'll explain exactly what's happening. You can see 49 pages of plagiarism deliciousness from Kamala. And I'm sure the media is just thrilled with it. So we'll see what's inside of that. Now, there was some reaction on this from the New York Post. Apparently, they reached out to her campaign. We'll see if they've got any updates. Meanwhile, Kamala is here talking about how horrible white Europeans are, saying that Europeans, if you're white out there, probably talking about you. It's hard to tell, but it might be. Then your ancestors, you know what they did here on Columbus Day? I hope you're enjoying it. They ushered in a wave of devastation, violence, stolen land, and widespread disease. Well, sorry, I don't know. I guess that's our fault. My apologies on that one. So, all right. Anyways, we'll talk about it. Kamala was there, and then Vance was out dunking on Kamala's stolen words, just like her stolen ideas, because she tries to steal everything from Trump. Then we're going to turn our attention to what's happening in some election litigation. We've got an update from Arizona. This was a heck of a story from our friends over at the Federalist. They got the documents, they got some emails, but apparently this guy, remember him? Stephen Richer. Yeah, from Arizona. He was here, did a terrible job back during our prior elections. He was there with onesie twosie Bill Gates, the other guy from Maricopa County board of whatever. And after Carrie Lake and her election were totally botched by them, day of the election, people are like, can we vote today? They're like, no, you can't. Why? Because we know you're going to vote for Carrie. So sorry. All of them, our machines are broken because our ballots don't match the settings and so on and so forth. And then they came out as we were all complaining. And Bill Gates, not that one, the other one, the dumber one, says, oh, don't worry about it. Just onesies and twosies we have to fix up around here. We all went, what? Is Arizona? What the hell? Who is this guy? So then this story is reporting that apparently Stephen Richer, the same guy who created or was part of an anti-Trump super PAC, and he's all over X and is really anti-Trump and anti-Republicans, even though he claims to be a Republican. He came out and was apparently, this report from Logan Washburn, shout out to Logan, is going to walk us through how this guy was working with left-leaning groups like the United States Democracy Center and an overseas group that was all bankrolled by the State Department to censor Arizonans and other Americans. And we'll go through this. Here are some emails, as we'll see. This story is very nicely assembled. And this is from, looks like Richard's office. He's even copied on this from somebody at Richard's office. Hey, we're going to be meeting to talk about how we can censor everybody, because we don't like those conspiracy theorists having the ability to conversate about our misdeeds. And so we'll read what this story says over from the Federalist in their exclusive report coming up soon. Then we'll see what's happening in Fani land, because boy, Fani is unethical. We've already known this. What's so striking about Fani, though, is she's shameless in her Faniness. It's pretty shocking. I mean, she's even Fani, even for Fani Willis. She's out fanning even herself, if that's possible. It's like multiple layers of Fani inception. But we'll come back on this story because she got scolded. What happened is there, of course, is another prosecution happening, the YSL case. And Fani is not the lead prosecutor in that. But emails have been flying around, including this one, that came in to the prosecutor on that case. That prosecutor's name is Adrian Love. And this person came in and was reaming Miss Love. Says, hey, Miss Love, this person's from Germany. Shout out to our friends in Germany. This seems like a very smart German person here. Says, Miss Love, I've been watching your behavior from quite some time. How can you be so bad at your job after all these years of experience? Great question, Germany. We're still trying to figure that out here ourselves. So we'll read that letter. And then Fani issued a response, and she did something very badly. You can see what she did right there. If you look closely, you can see it right there in that CC line. We'll come back on it and see what this resulted in, because the judge, you can see this email from Fani T. Willis, she/her. If you had any doubts, we went through months of her indicting Nathan Wade. Okay, we think we know what her gender is. Maybe not. I don't know. Georgia, I don't know. Interesting. So now this judge came out, scolded the heck out of him, and it's a lot of fun. And so we've got a bunch of stuff to get to, my friends. We also have some other election updates in Georgia coming up, and we're very excited to get into all of this and more very soon. But of course, before we get into any of that, you know what we got to talk about? Our friend Chuck Norris. You ever wonder what happened to him? I saw a video that he made recently, and I was shocked because he's 80, in his 80s, not even 80, in his 80s, and he's still kicking butt, working out, and staying active. But what's even more shocking, he can work out longer. He's got plenty of time and energy left over for his grandkids, and he did all this by making one simple change. He just did this thing, and he still feels like he's in his 50s. And his wife is very happy about it, too. She's taking it, too. She says she feels 10 years younger. Her body looks leaner, and she has energy every day. Chuck Norris in that household, man, must be wild. But Chuck has made a special video that explains everything. It's very easy to watch and go see. You can check it out. Go to chuckdefense.com/RG. chuckdefense.com/RG. See, this is what it looks like. You'll click the video. You're not going to believe how simple it is. Chuck Norris is legendary. Remember him, whopping 84 years old, more energy than me. And so just go watch this video. It's going to focus on 3 things you can do, 3 things that sabotage our bodies as we age. So check it out. chuckdefense.com/RG. Links are in the description below. And so go check it out. And thanks to Chuck for supporting our work here. We appreciate that, Chuck. All right. So without any further ado, my friends, let's get into it, because we've got some very interesting stories and some nice legal filings to read. So let's see where we're starting today with Kamala. Kamala Harris is a plagiarist. Big surprise. Her writings are as fake as her campaign and her entire career. This story was brought to us courtesy of Christopher Rufo with a nice exclusive here. He says, Kamala has plagiarized at least a dozen sections of her criminal justice book called Smart on Crime by Kamala that came out according to a new investigation, even ripping off materials from Wikipedia. Now, the investigation was done by this guy, Dr. Stefan Weber, a famed Austrian, quote, plagiarism hunter who was taking down German politicians in their world. We independently, says Christopher Rufo, confirmed multiple violations which are comparable in severity to the plagiarism found by Harvard and the former Harvard president, Claudine Gay. We remember Rufo delivered on that story big time. So he's confirming and vetting this, and he walks us through a number of different passages that we'll go through in detail. But let me take us back to who he references, which is this guy, the plagiarism hunter, which is Stefan Weber, because Weber also put together a monster report. And what's so interesting about this is the New York Times is already politicizing this story, which is just a fact-based report from Rufo that is showing that there are documents that certainly look like they're very similar, right? This was exactly, here's one post. Kamala Harris wrote, in Detroit's public schools, only 25% of the students who enrolled in grade 9 graduated from high school, while 30.5%, blah, blah, blah. That matches right there. The blue matches the blue. And the yellow matches the yellow. So clever Kamala Harris is so sneaky. That's just what these Democrats do. You got to be careful with it. They're like, oh, no, we changed everything. That's our policy. No, you didn't. You just stole it from the AP. Somebody else wrote that. You just put the last paragraph up first, kept the middle paragraph the same, and put the first paragraph at the end. It's the oldest trick in the book, man. We got busted doing this crap in like fifth grade, right? You couldn't do this. You get busted. But Kamala can do it. Nobody cared for a long time. So same thing happened here, right? Kamala Harris, literally, it's word for word. High Point had its first face-to-face meeting with drug dealers from the city's West End neighborhood. The drug market shut down, blah, blah, blah. John Jay Criminal College of Justice. Kamala ripped it off. The High Point strategy has since been implemented in Winston-Salem. Same thing right there, same thing. And here's another section about the New York court program. Word for word, verbatim, verbatim. Copying the Bureau of Justice Assistance and more. So several examples here from Christopher Rufo. And what do they say about him? Well, that he is a conservative activist who's just trying to smear her. The report by Rufo says that the presidential nominee copied 5 short passages from a 2009 book on crime. And a plagiarism expert says that the lapses were not serious. Okay, but first of all, they're minimizing the problem because Christopher Rufo's second post referred us over to Dr. Stefan Weber from Germany, who posted this, which is 47 pages, 49 pages. Sorry about that, Dr. Stefan. Didn't mean to jip you on those 2 pages, but 49 pages of materials, including Kamala ripping off MLK Jr. Unbelievable. From a Playboy interview. And so we'll see where this goes. But the New York Times is terrible, as always. They say the conservative activist, Christopher Rufo, published claims that Kamala is a plagiarist. And they try to minimize this. They say, well, he just took 500 words out of her 65,000 word, 200 page book. So it's like just a small, it's a little bit of plagiarism. Just like it's a little bit of Venezuelan gangs taking over apartment buildings in Colorado. It's not a huge problem, so just shut up about it, okay? As long as it's only a few buildings, it's not that big of a deal. In a review of the book, the New York Times found that none of the passages in questions took the ideas or the thoughts of another writer, which is considered the most serious form of plagiarism. So it's just like minimal plagiarism. Kamala's so pathetic, she can't even do serious plagiarism. That's how weak she is. The 5 passages that Mr. Rufo cited appear to have been taken partly from other published works without quotation marks. Wait a minute, what? The 5 passages that Christopher Rufo cited appear to have been taken partly from other published works without quotation marks. I think, is that it's like the definition of plagiarism? So thank you. Now, Jonathan Bailey, a plagiarism consultant that Kamala Harris hired. No, she didn't. I don't know. But somebody close to them probably like, we need a consultant on this one. Anyone know who works with plagiarists a lot? This guy's like, yeah, I graduated from Harvard. You can trust me. And the publisher of Plagiarism Today. There's a whole magazine. Is Kamala going to have the cover next month? There's a whole magazine. All right, should put her on the cover. Said that on Monday that I can't believe it. That's a great idea. Can you pay to have that advertised? Can you pay to get on the cover of this thing? Understanding okay, this is the organization. All right, well, we hope to see her on the cover of Plagiarism Today, that she belongs there. Now, he said, the amount of plagiarism amounts to an error and not an intent to defraud. He said that Rufo had taken a minor citation, relatively minor citations, and he made a big deal out of it, as Christopher Rufo tends to do. Not to mention that Claudine and others are gone now for their plagiarism. Now, the Harris campaign, in a statement, rejected the accusations as a right-wing attack. This is a book that's been out for 15 years, they said. It's a lot more than just this book. Known for his work opposing diversity, equity, and inclusion. So shout out to Mr. Rufo, a major accolade right there. I mean, what a great article. New York Times is saying that. It's amazing work. Says Mr. Rufo, part of a loose confederation of conservative writers who are all just ending America, and they're targeting Tim Walz and Kamala Harris. And of course, they go through all the different segments here. And we'll go through the actual report. Now, some academics say the campaign is racist from Rufo, right? And Rufo posted about that. Rufo said, this is incredible, that they're calling him racist now for simply pointing out the fact that there is plagiarism happening. Now, Rufo said that while he and his colleagues had examined mostly published work by white academics, plagiarism had shown up almost always among papers written by black scholars, particularly black women who work in diversity and inclusion. We can speculate as to why, said Rufo, but suggested, well, maybe it's DEI. Some academics have characterized the campaign as racist. Okay. Nobody is bringing that up other than them. Well, why can't we just talk about the plagiarism? Can't we just talk about the words on the page? Yes or no? So not only are they singling out Rufo, right? They're making Rufo essentially the lightning rod of this story. And they're using him very unfairly, I'll say, to smear the story, right? They're saying, oh, it's not a real story because it was brought to us by Christopher Rufo. And Christopher Rufo, as you know, hates black women or whatever their claims are, right? Totally insane. But that's what they say. So they say that this is just a smear on the story. Absolutely ridiculous. Why? Well, because this person did a 49-pager analysis on the rest of the plagiarism, and you can see the details of it here. So this comes over from Plagias Guchatin, Plagiats Gudichin. Sorry, German friends. But here's what he says. Germany's current minister for foreign affairs, Annalena Baerbock, and also Kamala Harris plagiarized their book. Now, they've done their first round of investigations. And so let's go through the document. This is where the source came from. But here's the full report. Plagiarism allegations against Kamala Harris, courtesy of Dr. Stefan Weber and the team from Germany. Says Harris copy and pasted a Wikipedia article into her book, Smart on Crime. In total, this documentation highlights, that we're going to go through, 27 fragments of plagiarism in her book. 27. So Rufo, I think, gave us 5 or 6 examples. There are 27. Plagiarism fragments can be proven from page 5 to 10. In live interviews, Harris did not speak freely, but repeated the content of her book verbatim, right? And they're saying he doesn't appreciate how they have enabled her to do that. He says, now, Harris gave live interviews. Some say it's common for people to just basically recite passages from their book. He says, I don't really think so. He says, it's unethical to reproduce text chunks verbatim, but maybe you guys do that over here. He says, it would be weird in Europe if somebody was just literally talking their book. That's what he writes. But I feel like we hear that all the time, right? Like everybody talks their book. But in Germany, that's like weird. Why would you copy? He says different media should have different content. In some, it seems a rather cheap way of producing content. I would never have the idea to simply copy and paste the paragraphs from my current book when I'm interviewed on the topic for my book. Like I would actually discuss the book. I wouldn't just recite the things, is what he's saying. Which I would agree with. But that's not what our culture is like in America. In fact, they all sound like they're scripted robots. 2-minute sound bites. They're not even interesting conversations at all. So I would prefer his methodology, but we don't live in that world here. Now, believe it or not, he says, we did this documentation driven by scientific interest and did not get a penny for it. The same as all of the other plagiarism cases with Annalena Baerbock and Diana Kinnert in Germany. In contrary, we had expenses. And as always, we do that to cover the problematic rise of the copy and paste culture, which is something we mock here all the time. The journalists are just copy and paste journalists, not even interesting. So what do these findings say about Kamala? Is she in part fake? Did her ghostwriter plagiarize? Maybe it's not her. Was it just the team behind her? No idea. But I let the other people from the US draw the right conclusions. Here's the full 45-pager. You see, this dude's been doing this for a long time. Blog goes all the way back to 2010, just cracking plagiarists all over the place. So it's not some biased right-wing hatchet hit job. This guy's been doing it since 2010 and has Kamala pinned. So let's go back through the report. Here's the big one that many people have known about this, but this one is pretty interesting to see it in a side-by-side like this. So Kamala wrote in her book, page 10 in the preface, she says, as for me, I had a stroller's eye view of a watershed moment in our country's struggle for social justice. This is Kamala reading. And I'll just use my voice, not hers, so we can save some brain cells. The civil rights movement that unfolded in Berkeley and Oakland. My early memories are of a sea of legs marching. And of course, we picked up the language of the movement. She says, my mother used to laugh when she told the story about a time I was fussing as a toddler. Cranky Kamala. She leaned down to me to ask, Kamala, what's wrong? What do you want? And I wailed back, says Kamala, freedom. Yeah, right. Who does she think she is? Mel Gibson? I would never, and then here's what Martin Luther King said, okay? MLK Jr., that Kamala stole from, wrote this in the Playboy interview, 1981, it's page 134. Sources, he cites the sources, there they are, says, I will never forget a moment in Birmingham when a white policeman accosted a little girl who's black, 7 or 8 years old, who was walking in a demonstration with her mother, right? There's the connection. What do you want? The policeman asked her gruffly, and the little girl looked at him straight in the eye and answered, freedom. Forgot the R. She couldn't even pronounce it, said MLK Jr., but she knew. That's Kamala. Wow. Was MLK looking down at little Kamala Harris? What a beautiful story that is. Wow. Amazing. Maybe it's just the universe winking at us. Now, again, many other things, right? These were other things that she ripped off. She says the incident was already reported by the New York Post. There may be other instances where she's just misappropriating historic quotes. These were not in her book, but she attributed 2 similar quotes to her mother, but they match closely to the lines of other speeches, right? She was talking about, my mother always told me that you may be the first to achieve something, but make sure you're not the last. And so on. And this apparently came from Sandra Day O'Connor, right? She's ripping quotes off from other areas. Now this is another interesting one from the Richard Nixon campaign. Let's look at one that is just glaringly obvious, like this one. All right. From Kamala's book. Page 48, chapter 2, the book reproduces content from a press release that was issued by her office, likely written by an assistant. So this is a press release, right? So this is her office, and they just pulled it into her book. So her office writes a book. Beyond the issue of copying it, the book claims that the San Francisco authorities, caught the defendant, whereas in the press release, he was caught and sentenced in Los Angeles for crimes. Only after his Los Angeles conviction did a partial fingerprint help the San Francisco PD match him, leading to his extradition to San Francisco, right? So she's ripping off her old press statements, which are also lies, which is, at least you could say, well, that's her office at least, right? You can see that is just all copy and pasted right there. Boop. We take the red, we connect it over to the red, we take the green to the green, and then boom, there you go, right? It's just all lifted over. Now here, although the source was vaguely referenced earlier, She's also referencing the CDC stuff, it looks like. Looks like a CDC.gov, violence prevention, just copying and pasting and lifting that. Here are some more examples. Most of the article was copied into the book, but they just copied from San Francisco. San Francisco Gate, another article. Absent-minded consequences of truancy. Right into her page. Here's one from NBC News, and you can see, right? We don't have to draw the colors to match everything up. But this is troubling data. In Detroit's public schools, here it says, in Detroit's public schools, 24.9%. So it's the same pattern that we saw with Claudine Gay. They take a lot of the same stuff and just kind of modify the statistics a little bit. Here's from the CSI effect. So this guy, Andrew Thomas, wrote about the CSI effect. Look at that one. Ooh, that's pretty bad. Chief prosecutor for Maricopa County, Andrew Thomas, is the chief prosecutor, which includes the city. His office prosecutes that. Yeah, and so he just ripped it off from him. Right, there you go. That's his article. She just pulls it right into her book. That's his article. She pulls it right into her book. Calls it as her own. Same thing's happening here. This is another senator's press release. Copy and paste that. Another one from Megan's Law. Copy and pasting from that. So they've got her pretty well buttoned down on this. Another article there. Let's see where some of the Wikipedia stuff is. San Francisco Gate article. So a bunch of news articles. This is from AsianWeek.com, right? They're going around, not citing it, just copying. You could cite it, say, hey, these all came from these things, but they didn't. They just copy and pasted it. Here's more from the Bay Area, District Attorney's Office, government info. Here it is from Wikipedia. Okay, so check that one out. Yeah, there it is right there. The whole thing is copy and pasted. Screenshot from Wikipedia. Midtown Community Court. That paragraph ends up right there. Wow, right in pink. Nice job, Kamala. The yellow matches the yellow. And let's see where that blue comes in from the rest of the Wikipedia article. Is, I don't know where that blue came from. Oh, maybe from here. Yeah, down from there. So then they went and ripped off that document, community courts. And they're just copying and pasting. Very interesting way to write a book. They took this one from courtinnovation.org, stole that article, stole articles over here. The list goes on and on. Okay, so this is a German guy who is just showing you. I'll just keep scrolling just so you can see the gravity of this. Here's one from CBS News interview with Barry Leibowitz. This is an interview by Kimberly, and these are exactly the same. And I guess that might be, yeah, from, I guess she's just talking. Those are her talking her book. But it's basically the same copy and paste statements that she makes, which is also a curious thing, right? Here's an interview from the book. Here's another interview. And I have less of a problem with that, right? Like politicians have talking points. Unless that's ripped off from somebody, obviously, right? She should be citing her sources on that. But yeah, here's her book. And then she's reusing her same stuff kind of over and over and over again. But I think a lot of people do that. Like you read these books from all these gurus and they're all, you know, it's all kind of the same stuff. Everybody talks the same thing in many ways. So I'm less concerned about that. More concerned about them copying and pasting stuff from other people's articles and passing it off on their own, which fills this document as well. So here's the summary. All said and done. Plagiarism in the book, Smart on Crime. They said Kamala Harris copied virtually an entire Wikipedia article into her book, gave no attribution to Wikipedia at all. She fabricated a source reference, inventing a non-existent page number also. The self-promotional content from Goodwill Industries was copied verbatim without citing the source. Goodwill Industries was her primary partner on the Back on Track program. These are the severe findings, I think. Then in other instances, even when a source was cited with a footnote, the text was directly copied and pasted without using quotes. Quotation marks would have been the most transparent and honest approach, also in non-academic books. Now, further signs of dishonesty, says this report, may be evident when sources were copied but specific details were altered, such as replacing a Subway store owner with a sandwich shop clerk, right? Right? Because everybody can identify a Subway store owner. So if you copy and paste it, everybody goes, wait, Subway? You also had that happen to you in a Subway? That's weird. Those details are too similar. So no, you just change the Subway to a sandwich shop. It's the same thing. Like if you're going to copy your friend's homework, the same thing didn't happen to you both, right? Hello. Not that I ever cheated on anything in grade school. Or highlighting Southeast Asia in the context of gang problems, right? Oh, we just changed little details. You know? But less related or less severe findings. Now, in an interview with CBS, large portions of Kamala's book were reproduced verbatim, suggesting that the interview was scripted and that she relied on the preface and the introduction of the book to provide her responses. Now, some observers say this is rather common in the US. I think that's hysterical. Like in Europe, I don't know, maybe they're not so dumbed down. They're like, wait a minute, I already read your book, so I don't need to hear you say the same thing in your book. That's an interesting note, isn't it interesting? In Europe, they expect the politician to say something different. I guess in America, maybe Democrats don't read books. So Kamala's like, I'll just talk she could just read it and talk the first intro. And it was like, wow, this is great. She's so brilliant. Kamala Harris and Kimberly Emerson fabricated an interview about the book. Most sentences were copied verbatim from the CBS News interview. And that might be even a bigger scandal, right? Is that CBS is doing audible readings with Kamala and trying to pass it off as news. Well, let's just talk about your book here. Okay, read it. Then I'll ask you a question. Okay, read that next sentence. And I'll read that sentence. Like a joke. Falsely gives the impression of a live conversation. It's not. Half a year after the fake interview, Kimberly's husband had his career breakthrough. You're kidding. When President Obama appointed him to the advisory committee for trade policy and negotiations and later ambassador to Germany. So this was like when Kamala must have been a senator. Both Kimberly and her husband assist in the Harris campaign. They're also on an open letter to endorse Kamala. It's so incestuous and disgusting. Now, Kamala Harris, as DA, influenced Senator Mark Leno to criminalize parents when their children miss 10% of their classes. Yeah, so broken families and broken homes, she was like arresting parents so their kids could then go, I guess, to the state, which is what they're in favor of. Criticized for creating problems mostly for Latinos and African Americans. Mark Leno gave a statement with big chunks copied from a white paper of Kamala Harris. And so it's just fake, man. Everything about her is fake. And fortunately, the American people are starting to see more and more of it. And it's all here, 49 pages. You want to go get the details on it, you can go to Dr. Stefan Weber and team. Just put him into the search engine box and you'll see it pop up. Now, Kamala came out and read something from a teleprompter. No idea if this was plagiarized, probably, or somebody wrote it and they plagiarized it from somebody. I don't know where it came from, but whoever wrote it, and it very well could be Kamala because I do think she feels this way. Wherever it originated from, Kamala thinks it's true.
It is an honor, of course, to be with you this week as we celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day, as we speak truth about our nation's history. Since 1934, every October, the United States has recognized the voyage of the European explorers who first landed on the shores of the Americas. But that is not the whole story. That has never been the whole story. Those explorers ushered in a wave of devastation for tribal nations, perpetrating violence, stealing land, and spreading disease. We must not shy away from this shameful past, and we must shed light on it and do everything we can to address the impact of the past on Native communities today.
I don't know what that means, but I guess Europeans are in for a reckoning because our ancestors came over here 400, 500 years ago. And less than that, obviously, too. But all right. Well, she seems almost a little giddy about this. And her eyes definitely seemed extra glazed in that exchange. So that's Kamala. She apparently hates white Europeans who brought death, devastation. It reminds me of Joe Biden's winter of misery and death, except this applies to all white Europeans, I guess. So here's JD Vance, who happens to be a white European, I think, who is now saying that Kamala maybe shouldn't have plagiarized her book.
I saw today, actually, a story that Kamala Harris apparently copied some significant chunks of her book from Wikipedia. So if you want a president with their own ideas, vote for Donald Trump. If you want a president who copies her own ideas from Wikipedia, vote for Kamala Harris.
Hey, JD. And it's not just copying them from Wikipedia. She copies them from Trump, too. Kamala Harris is walking around acting like she's a Republican now. She's like, yeah, you know, we're going to secure the border. Okay, what? Where you been for 3.5 years? You opened the border. Now you're going to secure it. And the litany of other laughable reverse courses from Kamala and Walz can go on. But JD Vance is right. She's fake, just like her book, just like her entire career, just like her candidacy. All right. And so let's carry on, my friends. Let's turn our attention over to this story, because this is a good one. Censorship in Arizona right as the election approaches. The same people we've paid extra attention to here in Arizona are back at it. This story is an exclusive from The Federalist, and an excellent report that talks about Stephen Richer. You remember this guy from 2022. He was here on our channel a lot because he was out there with Bill Onesie Twosie Gates, as we nicknamed him, because they came out, oh, no election problems at all. We're just fixing a couple things. We're banging on the side of the printers and it's all going to work. Meanwhile, Kari Lake voters are all being denied access to the polls, or let's say never even going to the polls because they're driving by looking at the lines. And how did those people not get accounted for when we did disenfranchisement analysis? I'll never know. But the courts didn't care to hear about that. And now questions that we've been raising here about 2022 and 2020, and of course 2024 is coming up. We're covering a ton of the litigation that's happening here, including in Arizona, where they're trying to protect their 210,000 non-determined, non-identified votes that are in this bucket here. Now we know that Richer, according to this report from the very great Logan Washburn, they were turning to leftist groups, the county recorder, Stephen Richer, this guy, to guide his staff on targeting speech that he didn't like. Here's the background. Richer, who lost his election and is going to be no longer in office, thankfully, turned to left-leaning States United Democracy Center, that group, States United Democracy Center, they come up with the worst names, an overseas group, and another group that was bankrolled by the State Department to help his office target election speech that's been disapproved of by the government. This is according to emails. Now, Richer thanked States United, lefty group, for offering to let his office, quote, piggyback on the group's anti-speech operations, which he described as, quote, deep scanning the internet for, quote, disinformation, a term often invoked to censor. States United is a left-wing election law group that consistently opposes Republican election integrity legislation, like voter IDs. And they support Democratic attempts to diminish election security, according to Influence Watch. Now, the group has praised the weaponization of the justice system against Trump. They love it. And described by the New York Times as part of a coalition that's preparing to, quote, push back against the potential Trump victory with extraordinary preemptive actions. It's happening now. We're covering it every day here. According to email records, States United leftist group set up a call with Richer's staff, the Maricopa County Recorder, and the global censorship group, which is called the Institute for Strategic Dialogue, which means they're going to strategically eliminate your dialogue. ISD is a London group that has been accused of wrongfully labeling, quote, mainstream views as misinformation and subsequently censoring conservative opinions online. The group was also a recipient of a State Department grant from the department's Global Engagement Center, which, as we've talked about a lot here, was largely responsible for the massive censorship efforts that were stood up by all of the intelligence agencies and the social media companies in the aftermath of 2016. They were building them in 2018. They deployed them in 2020. That organization stood up and was a large part of it. The Federalist, Margot Cleveland, reported that a while ago. They work with big governments. They work with 501c3 groups. They work with big tech and more. And they work with some of the left's biggest financial backers. Now, Stephen Richer from Arizona later suggested that Arizona State University officials should fire faculty associate Aaron Ludwig for retweeting election concerns, apparently looping in States United in the process. This guy is something. Stephen Richer. Briefings by professional censorships and professional censorship gurus. Thanks very much to the States United for the kind offer to let us piggyback on some of the deep scanning you're contracting for election threats and disinformation, said Stephen Richer. Let's see if we can see this email. He emailed then States United Senior Counsel. This guy's name is Bo Dull. First name Bo, last name Dull. Bo Dull. Richer indicated his office and, quote, some partners at the county, oh, who could that be? I wonder, do some of this work already, but that he would love to fill any holes with an offer from States United. I bet he would. Now, a few minutes later, Dull told Richer that the States United senior advisor, quote, leading our disinfo work, is named Carolyn Chambers, would be, quote, circling up with our partners at ISD and your team to set up a call soon. So we've got two mega lefty disinfo organizations now working with government officials who are in charge of running the elections. Okay, we've been saying they've been cheating here for years, just to be clear about this. Ever since they indicted Trump, well, that's basically the beginning of election interference. Moment they raided his residence, that was it. Moment they started opening the investigation, whole balance of power changed. The whole structure of the country changed because they did something that in 234 years of American history, no one else has ever done before. And they started prosecuting their political opponents for conduct that wasn't criminal at all. And now they're working to censor the thievery of everything they did in 2020 and 2022. So they have to stand this up to rewrite history, just like the Ministry of Truth in 1984. Now she's again, this woman, Dull, was the senior elections policy advisor and the general counsel in the Arizona Secretary of State's office under Katie Hobbs, who was running the elections that she was in and then won it. Now she's again working as general counsel for Hobbs, who became governor last year, right? Just rehired the same people who helped get you elected. So Chambers sent an email to Dull on June 21st and copied Richer. She said, hey, we want to set up a briefing. On June 23rd, a States United staffer emailed Chambers, Dull, and other recipients a link to a Zoom meeting with the subject line, Maricopa County Recorder's Office X SUDC X ISD briefing, right? You see how some people will write that in their calendar invites, like Rob X you probably have here, me X watching the watchers on your calendar every day so you never miss the show, And they did the same thing. So what is Stephen Richer doing meeting with these two leftist groups? The meeting was scheduled for June 28th. A management analyst and special assistant to the Maricopa County Recorder emailed staff on June 27th, reminding them of the meeting and about the briefing the next morning. So this woman, management analyst and special assistant to Stephen Richer, fires this one off from so-and-so. It's 2022, elections right around the corner. Sent Monday, June 22nd, 4:47. 2, Eileen Haber, Megan Gilbertson, Michael Moore, not him, and Stephen Richer. 3 of them from the recorder's office or ISCX office, the others from the recorder's office. So Richer, I don't know what that acronym stands for, but 3 people from the same office. Stephen Richer is one of them, and then the others going to MCRO. Now, here's the subject regarding internet search thing. Isn't that fun? Internet search thing is how they're referencing this. Attachment, Maricopa County Recorder briefing. It looks like it's a calendar invite. So this woman says, Hi team, just wanted to send a quick reminder for this briefing referenced below and scheduled for tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. You should have received the forwarded invite last week. I have also attached that again here. Recorder Richard begins traveling tomorrow morning and would like us to go ahead whether he is able to listen in or not. In case you, and he's traveling a lot, man. He was even traveling when we were in trial. He was like on a, he was in his t-shirt showing up in court. We remember that. In case you need a refresher, States United published this report in June 2021 before the Senate's contractors released their final report. And you can find background information on the electoral disinformation work the Institute for Strategic Dialogue performs here. Many thanks. Click those two links. You can see what this group is doing. They're saying, oh, it's dangerous out there. And another group is working on this too. So Richard may or may not have been at that meeting. We don't know. We'll see if we find out. But Haber from his office was definitely there, and Megan Gilbertson was definitely there, provided this meeting happened. So from Carolyn Chambers, she responds back and says, perfect, will do. Looking forward to the meeting. And so she'll be there apparently. So the assistant then pointed recipients to background information. If you go there and follow it, the page boasts about the ISD working with States United ahead of 2022 midterms to, quote, detect, analyze, and escalate threats like election denialist activity. Election denialist activity. I guess that's us. Denialists. Busted. And links to news clips of ISD representatives celebrating efforts to pressure big tech into censoring more speech. And they did that. They censored your free speech and mine. And we got multiple strikes. It was all these people putting their fingers on the scales. Behind the scenes, on June 27, 2022, an email from the special assistant indicated that Richard was traveling at the time of the briefing and go ahead whether he's there or not. Asked how long Maricopa County's recorder's office had collaborated with these two groups and whether they are currently working with these groups, a representative from Richard's office told the Federalist that the recorder has, quote, worked with numerous entities over the last several years. So they admitted it. We have received information from States United Democracy Center, whatever, anti-democratic lunatics who are trying to censor everybody and call it democracy, States United. They'd like, let's just reverse their country's name. No one will figure it out that we're communists. Regarding election workers' safety, and as we do with all new information, taken it into consideration, the representative said, before listing the ways the office has made itself widely available to the public. So then, we don't know what they were doing or what lists they were sharing or whatever, but they're in full swing. Then they are just warming up. Then they attempt to cancel a professor for retweeting a post just the very next month. Richard, you can follow him on X. It's pretty funny because he's like manic about a lot of this. Like, so he's like that one guy on the internet. You know that meme out there where it's like, honey, I can't sleep. Somebody's wrong on the internet. She's like, will you just come to bed? He's like, I can't. I have to correct someone on the internet. Like, oh gosh. That's Stephen Richard on his X account. It's hilarious. But just the next month, Richard emailed Arizona State University. What time was this at? 11:50 in the morning? Oh, it was a Sunday. Yeah, see, I told you. Right. What time was it? Was it like 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning? No, it was a Sunday. Dude should be like relaxing, floating around at the pool. July 31st, he should be at the pool. 11:50 a.m. He's tattletaling on election disinformation on the internet. I told you, man. I told you. So just the next month, he emailed Arizona State University officials. He says, you should fire Aaron Ludwig, who sounds like probably one of the best professors at ASU, honestly. Criminal Justice Faculty Associate for his online speech, said Richard. That's insane. Richard was upset because Ludwig had retweeted election concerns. He said he's a regular purveyor of election disinformation and misinformation, and he linked to his account. He says, I ask that you assess if he is fit to be a part of the ASU faculty. What a piece of garbage, this guy. Wow. Okay, so here's what Richard said. In his email, this is a government person who is sending emails to ASU, and he's signing it as Maricopa County Recorder. This is lunacy. This is so shameful. So shameful. Oh, he's going to file a bar complaint against him too. He's pathetic. All right, let's read this pathetic letter from Stephen Richer. As a government official, okay, he sends this over to ASU and signs it using his government title. Dear directors, Stefan and Telep, the below person, Aaron Ludwig, who, as far as I can tell, is amazing, appears to be, quote, a quote, faculty associate. Just like you're a county recorder, Stephen, you're pathetic, with the School of Criminology and Criminal Justice. I ask that you assess if he is fit to be part of the ASU faculty. Is this the type of country you want to live in, where your government officials are emailing your employers and threatening and basically demanding that you get fired from their government email accounts? This is insane. This is so scandalous. I ask if you assess if he's fit to be a part of your ASU faculty. He is a regular purveyor of election disinformation and misinformation. His Twitter profile is available here, Ludwig Law. Now let's go make sure we're following him. That sounds awesome. All right, let's go to X, Ludwig Law. Make sure we're following this dude because it sounds awesome. All right, where is he at? Aaron Ludwig. Boom. Amazing. All right, shout out to this dude. And let's, if you're on X or something and you want to go give this dude a follow, this is what this dude looks like. Counter racketeering expert, lawyer advisor, criminal law professor, former chief prosecutor, and somebody who is catching the wrath of Stephen Richer, a total pathetic loser. And so let's see if, that's the account to follow. So that's where he's at. He's on X. Great to see him. Great to follow him. All right. So shout out to that dude. Now we go back to the ridiculous email. He shared that account. He says, but I am writing today because he is currently actively promoting messages that encourage harassment of and violence toward two non-public facing employees of the Maricopa County Elections Department. Okay. So why don't you report that to the cops then, Stephen? Do you feel like they're in immediate danger? Call the cops. Is it a threat? Is it harassment? Is it intimidation? Well, there are Arizona statutes that address all those. But they're not crimes, and they're not crimes. So that's why you're not reporting them. Because you would get laughed at. Because it's free speech, you tyrant. Now, in the words he has promoted, those two employees should be, quote, made famous and, quote, lock them up. Now, the allegations are, of course, errant nonsense that only imbecilic troglodytes, these people are so pompous. Can you even believe it? Who writes like this? That only imbecilic troglodytes could possibly believe after 5 minutes of research, which means it's 100% true. Whatever that guy was saying, 100% true. Because, and they'll actually teach you this in logic and reason and, rhetoric and stuff. Anytime anybody comes out and says, it's only this, or only, they're trying to foreclose your thought process that there are, foreclose other possibilities. It's like a basic fallacy. Anyways, idiot. The incitement to harassment and violence, which has affected both employees already, is especially rich for someone who is a member of the state bar. So am I. And purports to be an expert in criminal justice, just like I do. Now, please let me know if you need any additional information from me. Please let me know what you decide. I will also be filing a bar complaint with the Arizona State Bar against Mr. Ludwig. Thank you. Oh my gosh, we're going to have to get in touch with Mr. Ludwig, man. We're going to have to see if we can hang out with this dude and read the bar complaint. I hope. Well, I don't hope he got one because nobody wants a bar complaint. This is a nightmare to get a bar complaint, right? If you get one that shows up on your front door, like if Stephen wants to file one against us, you're like, I don't like what you said about me on your YouTube channel. We'll get it. We'll read it here and, we'll do the thing. But it's total nonsense for him to go after a lawyer for exercising his free speech. And the most pathetic thing about this whole thing is he signed it with his government name on there. Maricopa County Recorder. I'm a government official. P.S. On this page, Director Stefan's name is misspelled, says he, but the listed email reverses the P and the O. I tried both emails. Please forgive me if I address this email incorrectly. So he's like, he's so pathetic. And he sends this email at 11:50 a.m. Everybody's out, their families at the swimming pool, just wrapping up church, lounging on the couch, having some leftovers from Saturday night, whatever. Stephen Richer is writing angry tirades against Aaron Ludwig, who sounds like he's one of the coolest dudes at ASU, maybe one of the coolest lawyers in Arizona, honestly. I'd like to meet him because this is outstanding. And you should hang that up, man. We used to hang nice stuff up at our office when I was practicing, where, put up nice letters or dismissals or motions. This is one that you put right up there. Stephen Richer had a hissy fit on Sunday at 11:50 in the middle of July. Hysterical. All right, so Richer claimed that Ludwig was promoting bad messages that encouraged violence and more. Here's the post from Aaron Ludwig. Oh, it wasn't even his own post. He just retweeted something. He is upset about retweets. Maricopa County candidate for supervisor Gail Golick wrote this. It's time to make so-and-so and so-and-so famous. Who are these other people? We won't spend time on. But it's just a retweet. He proceeded to delete the election files in Maricopa County. They both still work there. It's a retweet. Now, the allegations are errant nonsense. The dean sent an email to the same day. Says, thank you for your important information. We'll look into this. Now, then the United States operative also emailed Richer, right? So he also sends it to the censors and says the entire body with the subject, Aaron Ludwig. Now, when they got this, look at this. Oh, gosh. The entire portion of this was redacted. So then, did he copy her on that too? You got to be kidding me. Darren Moffat. Okay, so a bunch of people got copied. Okay, so he blew up everybody. So then presumably the ISD person also gets it. Bo Dull, she, her, it's a she, my bad. U.S. Democracy Center now comes out and says, redacted, no idea what she says, and responds to everybody. We got Stephen Richer gets it. Everybody else from his office gets it. And she's part of the censorship operation. No idea what she says. Months pass, but Richer wouldn't let it go. He followed up back again on February 6th. In the same email thread, he sent a tickler for himself. Did anything ever come of this? Yeah, we did address it. We did address this, they said. What happened? I guess he still works there. Ludwig told the Federalist, his supervisors, never discussed the matter with him, but he first heard about the situation in April when acquaintances found the interchange in public records. He thinks that Richard's actions violate the First Amendment. Yeah, amazing. So they reached out to this guy. They found it. Now, the government should not be allowed, and I believe is not allowed pursuant to the First Amendment to censor our speech unless it is those few things that you can regulate. Now, he was the chief of the racketeering section, which is the Fani case, at the AG's office and was a prosecutor for a while. Says, I led the charge against organized crime. For somebody to attack my background and my credentials and to accuse me of being some filthy liar or anything is so offensive. It's destructive to my reputation, and I believe it's defamatory per se. Good for him. Good for him. Now, Richer recently lost the Republican primary for county recorder because he sucks. He initially campaigned on election integrity, but once in office, he used his perch as an opportunity to regularly defend the Democrat-run 2020 election in Maricopa County, was constantly writing op-eds about this, drafting lengthy screeds, Republican leaders and voters. Guy's been all over the place. He was just on CNN like 3 days ago saying, well, I'm going to get attacked by Republicans and all this stuff. He's going to write books. He'll get on MSNBC. He'll have to fix his hair, though. The Constitution today, he said, is in some ways a thorn in the side of my office. Specifically, the First Amendment, apparently he wrote. The Constitution is a thorn in the side. Yeah, that's how they feel. The outlet obtained a document with instructions on banning a user on social media, which the county reportedly told Just the News is a draft document of ideas that were brought up at a meeting, but that was never implemented. What is this? So somebody wrote this down in some public record sometime. Oh, we were just thinking about doing it. So they wrote, here's an idea. What do we do when we need to ban someone? Well, for violations that have a direct threat, do not engage, contact us. For other comment violations, direct message with this comment. Oh, hello, so on Maricopa vote. So they're censoring their own pages. Take a screenshot of the violation, copy the social media post with an entry, comment violation with this user. When the user violates again, ban them from the government page. Maricopa vote, ban them. Update the entry. If there's a question, assign it to a social media manager. When violators are banned without a warning, they still need to be entered. And so who knows who they were banning, right? Who they were banning. Did you actually have this deployed? Were you banning people? Who knows? Richer has also worked with CISA in his war on unapproved speech. Now, Richer, who has become a corporate media darling for many people on the left, has also attracted the attention of Reid Hoffman, Epstein Island Reid. During Richer's unsuccessful primary bid, Hoffman helped fund mailers backing Stephen Richer. There you go. There it is. So Reid Hoffman is at it again. So wild. He wants him fired for a retweet. And the retweet, I think part of his fury is probably that they're named, right? I think that's the thing, is that they're named in there, which, I'm not in love of, because you can really, kind of single people out that way. But these are claims that you're free to share and investigate, right? That's the point of this. It's like you're allowed to talk about these things and you can have them proven wrong and engage in a dialogue about what was lawful and not lawful. Can they talk about election security? Or is Stephen Richer going to send an email to get you fired? If somebody says, I saw somebody coming in that was problematic, or I saw something that was bad, can they not talk about that and retweet that and have conversations about that? Not in Stephen Richer's world. So he was trying to get that dude fired. And shout out to Ludwig. Make sure you're following him over on the X platform and anywhere else, because he is facing an onslaught. Our own government officials are demanding people be fired for challenging their own corrupt electoral failures at every turn. We're going to keep our eye on it. Arizona is here. Election is right around the corner, and it's right in our backyard. So thanks for subscribing, my friends, wherever it is you're watching this, and we'll see you back here. All right, we've got one final segment on the day, my friends. And for this one, we're going over to Fani land. Fani gets scolded by the judge in the YSL trial. Fani, of course, engages in a lot of unethical behavior. This one she did in writing, which was very convenient for everybody, very upsetting to the judge. And the story comes over from Law and Crime. The case, of course, is the YSL trial, and it's been a total disaster for a very long time. I want to walk us through what happened in court, but before we get there, let us explain what these emails look like, because we're going to need to see these emails before we hear the judge ream Fani. And so this is what came in to the court. You can see it was sent from somebody from the country of Germany. Shout out to our friends in Germany. Here is the message that came in October 10th, just a few short days ago, 2024 at 5:12 in the morning. Email goes to Prosecutor Love. Adrienne Love. You know who she is. We also have the court is being copied. Earl Glanville. That is to the court, which happens, right? Civilians, citizens, people who are not part of the legal system will get the email addresses of the courts. When the courts get the emails, they forward them to the parties. Hey, this person sent in a letter, it should go to, if it's a victim, it should go to victim services, or, all these different things. Unless the court is asking for the letters. But if it's a, everybody should be apprised of it, right? In other words, the judge is not going to get the email and theoretically just keep it to them. The judge needs to notify the other parties about what's going on, because it's supposed to be an equal system of justice where nobody has a knowledge advantage against the other party. So, German person sends this message in and copies the prosecutor's office. Man, and I'm sure this German person is just having a field day with this. He's like, oh, this is so great. So great. Because obviously this is a great reaction to get. But sends it to Simone, Hilton Simone. Fani Willis gets copied on this, CC'd along with the court. Paige Whitaker, the subject is YSL RICO case. What are you doing? So this our German friend says, Dear Miss Love, what a nice way to start a letter. I have been watching your behavior for quite some time now, and I am wondering, how can you be so bad at your job after all these years of experience? The new judge, who was trying to help you, not as much as Judge Earl Glanville did initially, is fed up with you, finally. You are ruining your career and what is left of the reputation of the Fulton County DA's office. Please just rest this case, or you will get into so much more trouble. Maybe you're going to lose your job and will have issues in finding a new one because your unprofessional behavior and your haphazard and unorganized ways of working are on display for everyone to see. Please just do the right thing. You are going to lose the case anyway because you lost the jury about 6 months ago already. And what is eventually going to come out is that young thug is innocent anyway. He is not Pablo Escobar, but you are acting like it. Just stop it. Please, Miss Love. Kind regards from Germany to Fulton County. Then Fani got that delivered to her inbox. And you know Fani, she's the biggest Fani in Georgia. She cannot let that stand. So she replied to it, just as a mature person would. And you could even ask yourself that. If somebody sent you a message like that at your business or in anything that you do you engage with that? Or is that just a troll? Of course, Fani takes the bait because Fani, that's what she does. So from Fani Willis, she responds, sent Thursday, October 10th at 10:38 a.m. So it came in. So, wow, she's on her emails. She responded in about 5 hours, pretty quick, from Fani Willis. Not doing much else, probably just waiting for her next cruise. So she bangs out a response on this, replies from Fani Willis to this person, copying to Adrian Love, copies probably the rest of her staff, maybe copies Nathan Wade on there. Hey, check this out, baby. But she copies the court. Because this is going to go and be a part of the public record. And she knows that. Fani knew what she was doing. She also copies other people in her office. And so Fani Willis bangs out this response. Fani T. Willis, she, her, District Attorney, Atlanta. She writes, Miss Love, please ignore this foolishness. As you know, the elected District Attorney, me, is extremely proud of you and believes you to be a huge asset to this office and our community. You have no chance of losing your job, and your service is greatly appreciated. Folks who have never tried cases will always have nasty things to say, but while they criticize from the sidelines, they fear the arena. They are not risking life and limb to keep our community safe. Let me tell you an anecdote of encouragement this morning. A good friend of mine called this weekend and said she was in an Uber, and the Uber drive randomly began talking about being from Memphis and how much violence there was in Memphis. She said the Uber driver said in Memphis they do not have the ability to do RICO. He said, I am so proud of our DA here in Atlanta and her YSL team. They are not afraid, and they are fighting for justice. I tell you this random anecdote that definitely happened, to encourage you to brush your shoulders off and keep your eye on the prize, which will always be justice. Please know that your boss gets 100 nasty messages and 100 nice messages a day. I focus on one thing every day, representing my community in a way that is fair. I am asking you to continue to focus on justice and ignore the haters. I am extremely proud of you. Now go make it an amazing day. Yours in service, Fani T. Willis, she, her, in response to the email. And so the judge didn't like that one bit, not at all. And here is what that exchange sounded like when this was brought up in court in front of all of America to see.
Appreciate you forwarding to us the ex parte communications you received from Madam DA Fani Willis. Given the sensitivity and the history in this case of ex parte meetings or maybe communications, would you just please request the state? I mean, I understand probably what was behind that communications. And of course, it is great for a boss to buck up an underling who has perhaps been attacked or maligned. But I don't believe that, and I don't think the court does either, that the court should have been copied on that communications, especially one that reads maybe more like a campaign ad with a source story in it than anyway, I just don't believe it was appropriate. And I would just ask you to please ask the state to halt any future communications ex parte they might want to have with this court. That's all I have to say. Thank you, Your Honor.
Yeah, it's a shame that the court would even have to say something like that. But can you all please communicate to everybody in the DA's office to not have any sort of ex parte communications with the court? And y'all may not even know what I'm talking about because I don't think either of you was copied on that email, but Ms. Love was. Ms. Hilton, you were as well?
I do, Your Honor, and I don't know, I know exactly what you're talking about. I think we have a different perception of direct communication with the court, but we will make sure that.
But the court was copied on it. And it could have been an accident, but
it wasn't.
Your Honor,
it should have been careful.
But the state did not have the initial conversation with the court. That was a community member, and it was very much also was not a direct communication with the court, but we understand the court's perspective. We understand what the court is saying.
Oh, excuse me. I just need to take issue with the fact that it wasn't a direct communication.
It wasn't a direct conversation with the court. We were responding to a citizen in Germany, and we just happened to copy you. So leave us alone.
I'm sorry. Excuse me. Can you hear me now? I didn't mean to
we can.
act
Thank
like
you.
Max Sharp. I take issue with any type of suggestion that this was not a direct communication with the court. It went from Madam DA Fani Willis to this court. It was a direct communication to this court. It was inappropriate. It was praising Georgia's RICO statutes to the court, which again was not appropriate, Your Honor.
Frankly, I think it might be a good idea to print out the email and make it a court's exhibit to this record. But I think what Ms. Hilton was just saying was that the original communication was not from the district attorney's office. The original communication was, I don't know,
from Germany,
who this person is or where in the world they are. But some
Are you out
member
there?
of the world,
German friend?
member of the public, emailing Ms. Love directly, but copying several other people, the court included, because of course our email addresses are a matter of public record. And, you know, I basically ignored it and deleted it. But as you all know, because I forwarded the next communication to everybody, the elected DA, Ms. Willis, made a decision to respond and
She can't even believe it.
directed that response to Miss Love, but kept everybody, including the person who had made the original email communication and the court on her response to Miss Love. And I believe that to be ex parte, and that is the reason why, as soon as I read it, I had Ms. Persifield forward it to all counsel.
Amazing.
Because I don't think that should be going on.
No.
I certainly appreciated that, Your Honor.
And
Thank
the
you.
court really has ignored entirely the substance of the communication, because the court is not making any decisions based on whether I think the RICO statute is good or bad. That's not what judges do. The legislature enacts statutes. I apply them hopefully correctly.
And I have no
or
concern.
whether anybody thinks any attorney is doing a good or a bad job. I'm just sitting here trying to follow the law.
Yeah, and I'm not concerned about any impact on the court from that communication.
Yeah.
It's just the
Shouldn't be
communication
happening.
itself. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So, Ms. Persifield, if you don't mind printing that out. And I have no idea what court exhibit number we're on, but if somebody can figure that out, we'll number it. Court's exhibit number, whatever the next one is. Do you know?
Your Honor, our numbering system is broken down by act, which is why we have the different letters. So
Oh, no.
talking about the
Court
court's
exhibits.
I will check that, Your Honor.
We don't, Your Honor.
I mean, I don't know either, but somebody does. The court reporter, or the last court reporter, maybe. But anyway, we'll get that figured out and make that a court's exhibit. Okay.
Mr. Sprinkle is on his way.
Okay, thank you.
All right, let's fast forward.
How many number, is it numbered? This one's not numbered. It's work product of the defense, of the prosecution, but I haven't gotten through the entirety of it yet. Nor, I suppose, has the district attorney. And they would be entitled to respond, but that just doesn't seem like an appropriate thing to do. I'm going to give them a chance to take a look at it and digest it and respond.
All right, we're waiting for somebody to come.
Apparently looking at them out of, and I'm going to respond to after.
To be discussing some of the Instagram content of Mr. Ryan. And I think the argument which comes up in number 64, it's also.
All right, so I think they burned that clip out. All right, so it kind of just peters out from there. But Fani Willis gets scolded, and rightfully so. In my opinion, she knew exactly what she was doing. So she sent that letter back so that everybody could take and read her position on it, saying that she's incredible. She gets 100 nice messages. They're doing an amazing job, vouching for her office, vouching for her prosecutors, and literally responding to this guy, which is really just unbecoming of the biggest Fani in Georgia. She should be above the trolls, not engaging with them. But that's Fani for you. She can't ignore it. Now, meanwhile, elsewhere in Georgia, the state election board is under attack. We've seen this board demand that Fulton County deliver records from 2020 that they've been burying for years now. And now the board is being attacked by others. They say that they're engaged in inappropriate and unprofessional behavior. And so they said our job is to clarify the law. And so they've actually been sued. The 3 Republicans haven't shied away from changing election procedures. And this guy's a Waffle House executive and has been fighting against them. And there was another story from AJC that was talking about the debate rules, or debating new rules and recounts, and not much actually interesting there. So Point is, we're going to keep our eye on what's happening in Georgia because we're waiting for some other decisions. Some litigation has been filed, but Fulton County continues to be a mess. Fani gets scolded again. We'll keep our eye on it. Thanks for subscribing as we do. All right, my friends, it has been a heck of a stream. If you're just joining us, we covered some good ground. We went through some good details on the Kamala censorship scandal, which is now breaking. We read through 49, very quickly, examples of Kamala's fraud and her plagiarism that was crafted by our German friend. I don't think this was the same German friend who sent the letter into Fulton County, but maybe, I don't know. But we talked about that. We read through it. We also saw what Christopher Rufo had assembled for us and learned that Kamala hates white Europeans who brought misery and death with them to America. We also talked about Arizona and how Stephen Richer is just the worst, was sending emails to try to get Arizona professors fired for retweeting posts that he didn't like, was working with allegedly foreign operations, foreign censorship groups to have meetings with them to work against disinformation and misinformation, and threatening bar complaints against other lawyers to censor them. So all from his government account as Maricopa County recorder, using his titles to throw his weight around because he cannot have people talking about his terrible, poor performance in Arizona. We also talked about Fani Willis and her office getting scolded after she sent a weird letter back to some nice guy from Germany who makes a ton of great points and is just trying to offer some friendly advice here. I mean, for crying out loud, just trying to be a friend. Fani blasts him and did so knowingly. The judge didn't like it one bit. And so it's been a heck of a stream, my friends. Thank you so much for joining. Thanks for being membos and joining us when we go live for our membos stream. We went live this morning, had a very longer stream this morning, about 90 minutes. Talked about some other litigation this morning. What did we read this morning? Election litigation, Arizona. I can't even remember. Feels like ages ago. That's how fast it moves. But it was a great stream this morning for our membos. Thanks for being membos. I see we got a bunch of new membos to invite in. We also want to say thank you to everybody who joined us at the Eric's House event this weekend. We were celebrating the annual event, Eric's House annual event this weekend. We raised over $40,000 to help people who've lost somebody due to suicide, overdose, or tragic death. We had a great live stream, and we really appreciate everybody from our community who came over and joined us. My mama gave the Watcher fam a nice big shout out at the end of the live stream, and we saw some very familiar faces over there. So thanks for everybody who joined. We had a ton of fun. And, I think, are we live streaming to Eric's house right now? Oh, we might be live streaming to Eric's house right now. We're going to have to delete that stream as soon as this is over. Didn't intend to do that, but okay, we're doing that today. So not exactly the content that they want over there, but we'll end that here in a second. But anyways, we had a great time. It was a great stream and it was a lot of fun. So if you want to go subscribe over there, they have great content as well. If you're on YouTube, by the way, come and join us over there at Eric's House. Eric's House 88 is the YouTube account, and they'll be posting a bunch of clips from the event. And it was just a ton of fun. So thanks for coming over there and joining us on the show. All right. But my friends, I also see we had some amazing donations. We had some amazing membos come in and join us. And Donut's clipping for us. Thank you, Donut. Let's see who's joining us here on the show. We've got Tony Hay Munkets is bringing new membos in. What's up, Tony Hay Munkets? Check it out. Tony Hay is bringing in Don Goff, got gifted a membo. James X, Deranged Poke User. We've got Laura, Wild Bill, Crow X, and Mr. Trump Train gifted membos over on the YouTubes, courtesy of Tony Hay Munkets. Thank you, Tony Hay, for bringing in 5 new membos. Let's see. Who else is here? Where did we go on this one? Man, we got some good clips here today. And that was from last week. I don't even know where I am right now. This one, here it is from Tony Hay. Thank you, Tony Hay. Okay, Brandon Lesko says, hey, the reason I've been so moody is because it's triplets. 17 months as a membo. 1 more month, we'll have 2 full babies, and this time it's 3. That's a lot. Oh my gosh, we have like 4 kids here. Do we have triplets last time too? Oh gosh, that's a lot, Brandon. Well, I'm excited. It's going to be fun. Hey, Glocky's here. Columbus brought diversity to America. Nice continent you have there. It'd sure be a shame if we happen to diversify it. Well, we're getting diversified right now, aren't we? We sure are, aren't we? Hey, what's up? Tony Hey Munkets, you rock. 5 membos, gifted 5 membos. Look at this. Kyle L's here. David Macy. We got Neil Williams. Stan Harwell. Lady of Quills, gifted a membo in the house. Thank you, Tony Hey Munkets, for bringing them in. Hey, here's one from Glocky. Yeah, exactly. Columbus was a brave Italian explorer. And in this house, Christopher Columbus is a hero. Okay, end of story. Don't want to hear about indigenous anything. This one from Glocky. This is a representation of Rob defending me in federal court after DC outlaws memes. Your Honor, my client was raised as a middle-class kid. And Kamala's just laughing back there because she knows she's going to get out of it. She's going to walk free. She just committed murder and she's going to walk free because that line works for everything. It wrecked the economy, open the border, start new wars. Doesn't even matter. NY says, Rob, this was worked out with Biden in 2020, okay? They never brought up Joe Biden's plagiarism. So why now for Harris? Well, I think Joe's plagiarism already took him out, right? Didn't Joe's plagiarism take him out of a campaign? So I think that's why. His plagiarism took him out and he came back. So it was bought in. Kamala hasn't taken her out yet. So it's much worse. Flea Speech says, to steal ideas from one person is plagiarism. To steal from many is research. That's from Stephen Wright. Yeah, but you still got to cite your sources, though. What's up, Sheila the Pooh? Set a million hugs to you. We got this one from Marlene Stewart. What's up? First shots coming in. Hollywood Hill, Stuart McLean, and Steve May gifted membos courtesy of Sheila Pooh. A million hugs to you. Thank you, Sheila, for bringing them in. Steve May is sending in a reminder to smash that like button. Always good advice and highly appreciated. B-Man says, there's a real interesting story about everybody's favorite lawyer called Mark Elias. I have not seen it. Oh, in the Gateway Pundit. Awesome. Good site. I'll be sure to check that one out. We know we talk a lot about that. This one was a comment from Cliff Norman that we won't share on the screen. It says, could you imagine the horror of Cortez seeing the human sacrifice of a man who had his heart ripped from his chest and held up while still beating to a cheering crowd of Aztecs? Yeah, I bet it's a pretty horrifying thing. Yeah, I bet it's pretty horrifying. Yeah, Aztecs were pretty brutal. Although the Europeans were brutal too. I mean, they had torture chambers and stuff. They would put the helmet. You ever go to the Renaissance Festival? Humanity is pretty brutal. The dungeon chambers where they just turn the crank once every 6 hours and the spikes come in every 6 hours or whatever. Put the rats on your stomach or something. Brutal. Humanity is brutal. Zulu. Hey, Zulu. Speaking of Zulu, Zulu won something at the auction. Zulu, you won something. I got an email saying, I need your email because you won something at the auction. I'm glad you're here. And thanks for being a membo. I think you got something pretty nice. I won't give it away, but I think it's pretty good. Hey, 32 months as a membo, Zulu says, got a 4th bun in the oven. Sweet. Thank you, Zulu, for being here. Thanks for hanging with us for 32 months, man. It's been a long time. And thanks for supporting Eric's house, too. I really appreciate that. And you won. So I need to get your email. I think I actually have it now that I think about it. I do actually have it. But we need your address and shipping stuff. We need the whole thing because you won. Awesome. Congratulations, man. Thanks for supporting us and coming by. What's up, Sheila Pooh? We got this one. A million hugs to you, Sheila. Thanks for bringing in 5 more membos. Rebecca Hammerbach in the house. Anthony Muma. LTC Vet. Serdon Trip in the house. And Jesusa Gonzalez gifted membos courtesy of Sheila Pooh. A million hugs to you. We've got Tony Hey Munkets bringing in 5 more. Puerto Rican Gloria in the house. Hope Arising, Battle Elf, Content Removed, and Scott Hodevet gifted membos, courtesy of Tony Hey Munkets. Hey, Sheila Pooh says, there is no mis or disinformation. It simply is a statement you don't agree with. Suck it up, Buttercup. This is America, and free speech has to happen. We have the First Amendment. You're exactly right about that. Yeah, and that was a play on Cori Bush, who lost her election. She's not going to be in Congress anymore, which is unfortunate because we did like her in there for entertainment purposes. But yeah, yep. If you disagree with the information, then just disprove it with your other statement. You know, it's weird. You have the same power. Just use your mouth and create words with your brain if it's so offensive to you. You don't have to get people fired. Just respond to it or talk about it. Don't have to get people fired. Hey, Morgan, English, and Lily in the house. Morgan, English, and Lily. Bring it in. Daisy Dowmer, Matthew Hoey, and Morgan. You were here this morning and you asked about how to bring in membos, and here you are this afternoon bringing in membos. Thanks for doing that. Daisy Dowmer. What's up, Matthew Hoey? We got Ron Hastings, Randall Wright, and Mark Gangler, gifted membos, bringing 5 more in the house. We got Knox Bierman, says, happy Monday, all. Bootlickers used to be laughed at. Totally. Oh, I miss the days. Following Professor Ludwig, who has also been a pro tem judge in addition to an ASU adjunct. Awesome. Yeah, he seems like a cool dude. He sounds like a good follow, retweeting good stuff. Yeah, Knox says, I hate to admit it, but I've missed the Fannyland stories. Always new levels of unprofessional conduct. It's crazy. And she wrote like a whole screen in there. She's like untouchable. No one's going to do crap. The State Bar has like a Fanny file. It must be this high. What are they going to do? Nothing? Or they don't. They just put it in the shredder. We can't do anything. She's elected. We can't do anything. She's elected. What are we going to do? Disbar her? No. Yeah, it's bad. And I think we also have, I don't know if you guys, I don't know if we've released it yet. I think it might be being released very soon. But we had the Pride Flag Pooper also out of Fulton County, which was a wild story. We did that one on Saturday for our membos. The Pride Flag Pooper, pooping all over pride flags there, apparently, in Georgia, got indicted. And I don't know. We went through the indictment. It was a fun one. Anyways, that's coming out soon. It's crazy. Fulton County is just crazy. Sheila Pooh, 5 more membos coming in. Thank you, Sheila. Ray Mangles here, red-blooded coming in. Buddy Love, welcome. Disgusted citizen, yeah. And at Alien Robot Ghost, gifted membos in the house. Sheila Pooh says, all membos, hit that like button and share. Thank you, Sheila, for that one. Thanks for being a membo and reminding our membos to hit that like button. Whoa, my friends. Look at this one. We've got 50 new membos. You know who these are coming from, right? Rice Baby. Dun 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 dun. Rice Baby. Bruce Rice Baby in the house. We got 50 new membos. Andy's Plumber, Christine McCoy, Johnny Commodi, Greg Silverado. That big guy's crackhead son is here. Poem Paget, Linda G, Pyramid 7, Angel Hunter Wolf. We got Just Mike, Spirals here, Donna, Reviant, Fonzie, Warren, Robert, Rob White. We got Vincent Oldfield, Christo Broyans, all in the house. Ban Chang Bill in the house. DY, Squirrel Friend, Cassie Tippett, Lori Falconer, Gatekeeper, Goose Toots, what's up? Father Marin, JF, Kimberly Waters, Chief Vance, Genius by Birth, Bob Jones, Truckin' Bear, Newt Gadget, John Merck, Tom Forsyth. We got Tripos Rez, Brenda Sellers, Mountain Mama, Kathy Bloom, Robin Beldam, Dasmole, Kat, and Fatal Fold. Gifted membos, courtesy of Rice Baby, Bruce Rice Baby. What's up? Knox Bierman says Fanny thinks a toilet flush is applause. She is like the most self-absorbed, tone-deaf woman of all time. I think she has a bunch of people just puffing her up. She's like DA. She's queen of Fannyland, literally. Knox says Joe Rogan says they used to have a Joe Biden night when all the comedians would do each other's acts. That's hilarious. Yeah, that's hilarious. And it's like a punchline, right? It's why he was rigged in there. Hey, voice of the people. What's up, voice? Bringing in 10 membos. Good to see you, Voice. Voice has a podcast, and I think they're streaming soon, right? Is it Thursday? Alan Hughes, what's up? Gifted a membo. Tyler Durden, welcome. Audie Joe in the house. Hooters, yum, yum, yum. Welcome. Jill Kindle, Eric Hadley, Safari Lover Girl, HD Warrior, Eric Bates, and Crimson Decade. And a big welcome to Hooters, yum, yum, yum in the house. All right, we got Larry. Says, wait, Fani has a security detail and driver, but she was in an Uber? Oh, yeah, that totally happened. Yeah, right. Oh, yeah, it's a good point, right? She drives around like with an entourage. What's she in an Uber for? Hey, Spuds says, actually, the Soul Train culture from Europe were here before Asian Indians peoples got here by about 5,000 years or so. Yeah, so there. Thank you, Spuds. Bill Streets, membo for 5 months. Hey, thank you, Bill. Says, hey, thank you for being a membo. Says, Rob, thanks for sharing your wisdom knowledge. Thank you, Bill. Thanks for being here and having the conversation with us, my friend. I appreciate it. Hey, Zulu's here. Says, sweet. I thought I missed out. I'll send my email address again so you don't have to search for it. Thank you, Zulu. Yeah, that'd be great. I'll just forward it on and then you'll get the goods, baby. I'm excited. It's going to be good. There's some really good stuff in that auction. So I'm glad you nailed something. Awesome. Thank you, Zulu. And I'm glad you're here. That worked out very nicely. Hey, Sheila says, think Robin Williams. I love the smell of mendacity in the morning. Yeah, from Fani. Apparently they do. Maybe they like it. They like Fani's noxious odor. They don't care. They're like, ooh, is that Fani? Is she coming here? Ooh, it smells especially noxious today. Noxious. Flea Speech says, thank you for the kind responses for the Eric's House donos. Love from Denmark. Well, thank you, Flea Speech. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the donos. Thank you for being a part of it. Thanks for supporting us. It is really good work. And man, if you missed it, there was one story from Jerry Ann. Oh gosh, wild. The amount of just love, you know, and the amount of emotion. You can just feel it. It's thick. What's up, Libby T? Love your show. Thank you, Libby. I love you back. Thanks for being a membo for 3 months. Thanks for supporting us and joining us as we go through all this. Really nice to have you here. We got this one from Kat Saunders. Speaking of this is kind of like a Kat Saunders, right? Hey, Kat Saunders, what's up? 5 membos gifted, courtesy of Kat. Thank you, Kat. We got Spitfire coming in, Ray Wright, Christopher Wrestler, Oz M, and 2 Tim 3 gifted membos, courtesy of Kat Saunders in the house. Hey, Stan Cottrell says, you realize today that Democrats are interviewed by the mainstream media, but Republicans are always debated, never interviewed. Yeah, one is like a script. They're talking Kamala's book in a patty cake game of answers. The other, they come in swinging with elbows to try to deviate Trump from his talking points. You cannot talk your book. You can only talk what they're trying to debate you over. Stan Cottrell, thanks for that. And Leona, 18 months. That's 2 full babies in the house. What's up, Leona? I just want to say that you're the best. I think that about you, Leona. Thank you for that. Look at that real handsome pup there, too. Thank you, Leona, for being here for 18 months. That is a long time. That's 2 babies in the oven. And we've seen some serious business here. So thanks, Leona, for being a membo. And my friends, thanks for those great donos and for all your support. Thanks for being membos. If you're a YouTube membo, you can, of course, get the after party stream that we're about to go to by joining us on Telegram. The Telegram link is available in the community tab section over on YouTube. So definitely grab that one. Hey, here's some memes from Paul Mino, one of our meme smiths extraordinaire over on X. Says that letter. Oh, it's some Germans into Germans. We had 2 German stories today. That letter to Miss Love was wunderbar. As was your investigation of Kamala's plagiarism. Wunderbar, something like that, right? Something like that. I don't know. I got to work on my German accent. But that letter to Miss Love that's hilarious. Very funny. Thank you, Paul Mino, for that. Yeah, 2 Germans. Germans made up the show today, basically. Miss Jack, what's up? Fred Pedamonte, good to have you. But Torn is here. And the ugly conservative. Hi, Rob. I don't think you're ugly at all. Says, very much enjoy the info. I live in Mesa. My wife received the ballot. However, Mesa's candidates for mayor are nowhere to be found on the ballot. I've reached out to Mark Farnsworth campaign to make him aware. Ideas. Do you have a federal only ballot? You might have a federal only ballot. You might be somebody who's in that bucket of 210,000 voters. Actually not. I think they're getting regular ballots. Sounds like you might be a federal only ballot. Ludwig Law. Yeah, in the house. Okay, so good stuff. My friends, that's what we have over on X. And I'm very grateful for you joining us today. We are now going over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com. Our members only after party begins very soon. And we would love to have you join us over there. We also do member streams in the morning and streams on Saturdays for members. So if you want to support us, we'd love to have you join us for some extra fun. But that is where we're going to leave it today. We are going to come back tomorrow. We want to thank our mods before we do that. We've got, of course, K Beans in the house. We got Donut clipping for us. I saw John McGarvey out there. I saw Zulu joining us today. And it's great to see our friends modding the fort down for us. And so now, my friends, we're going over to locals. We're going to hang out, debrief for a bit. Come on and join us. If we don't see you there, well, we are going to come back here tomorrow to get into this again. And in order to do that properly, we're going to need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. Sleep very well. I'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.